Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. You know, when XRP finally goes, it's going to happen quickly, and it's going to happen in tandem with the rest of the market moving to the upside. I have lots of confidence for tons of reasons. It's really largely based on historic precedent. We are going to see expansion of the stock market, and we know when that has happened historically, these 4-year cycles, it has resulted in expansion in crypto markets as well, what we call Altseason. XRP is an alt. So when we have that season, you better believe XRP is going to be a part of it. It's going to happen super fast. There won't be a lot of time to prepare if you haven't considered how you're going to handle this prior. So, like, are you going to be ready to sell when it happens if your targets are met? And what's that going to look like? Do you have enough accounts set up with various exchanges? Have you thought about what you're going to do in terms of getting that, getting those newfound profits into a bank account? You know, which would presumably be the next move. I mean, some of you may want to keep it in crypto or start even stable coins, this or that. You know, I personally, and maybe I'll make a more in-depth video on this topic at some point, but it is interesting to discuss, but I've never used a stable coin because I've never needed to in my life, because anytime I buy something, that's that. I buy it, it goes off the exchange, it's in cold storage, that's that. What do I need a stable coin for? Depending on what happens with exchanges, if I have unexpected roadblocks, I could imagine a scenario where, you know, based on when I'm allowed to get funds off an exchange, maybe there would be something where I briefly park, very briefly, some profits in a stable coin, but I will feel very uncomfortable because I do not trust any stable coin, no matter who is running it. Frankly, there is risk. There's counterparty risk to that. And so there are different approaches that can be taken here. But I just wanted to worry, because think about this. And by the way, for people that are in the United States specifically, as I am, just beware that whether you have a savings account or a checking account, it's only insured up to $250,000. So if you are expecting to get more than that in profits, what if you get into 7 figures, which is realistic in the world of crypto? What if that happens? What are you going to do? Are you prepared for that? Because, yeah, I mean, it's probably fine even if you had millions of dollars in an account briefly, but I don't know about you, I'm not willing to take that risk. And so for me, you know, even just something as simple as having multiple accounts ready to go and max it out only at those intervals, it's just food for thought. You know, maybe I'll make a video talking a bit more in depth about that, but for now, let's talk about what's happening in the short term. With Bitcoin, we'll talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about when we can reasonably expect this market to pop. And frankly, we are at this point where if history is going to kind of rhyme with itself, we're running out of time for it to just keep moving sideways. And so I know we were all hoping in January, February, March, okay, things look like they're popping off. Maybe we're going to see this left translated cycle, and you're going to have the peak of the cycle in the first half of 2024. We certainly didn't have the peak, at least not yet in this calendar year. Maybe we see some serious run up sooner than later. But just because that hasn't happened yet doesn't mean we won't see a resumption to the upside. And also, there are all sorts of people that have speculated the reason that we even saw that run up was because there was euphoria, or some level of excitement, if you don't want to call it euphoria, excitement injected into the market thanks to the ETFs. And so some people speculate, right or wrong, that maybe you just pulled forward some of that price action that otherwise would have occurred later this year. Which, you know, I don't know for sure if that's true. It's an interesting thought. It could be true. But either way, if you're going to have expansion of the stock market, alts are going to follow. And there have been all sorts of things I've been reporting on for months that indicate what is likely to occur is an increase in liquidity. And as that happens, yes, the stock market and crypto asset class, yes, they have more money flow into them. And then this hits XRP. And so, I mean, I'm even going to show you a little bit later on in the video, like another couple analysts saying, yes, double-digit price action for XRP is coming, which is also why I opened up this video just saying, have you thought about this? Because most of what it is to be in crypto, it's sideways and downward price action, so I don't talk about that topic all the time, but I just thought I'd mention out there, just like plant a little seed of an idea in your mind. We can talk about it more in depth, about things that might make sense to consider at least. But if you haven't put any thought into it yet, it's not too late, but have some sort of plan in place. As I record this video, it is, let's see, 8:44 p.m. Central Time, Saturday, November 2nd, 2024, XRP hovering very close to 51 cents, Bitcoin at $69,260. Crypto Fear and Greed Index at 74 out of 100. So we are still feeling that greedy bitches, although not extremely greedy bitches. We were at 77. That's extreme greed just a few days ago, but we're back down to regular old greed. But he's going to go back. At some point, it's going to go back to extreme greed, and there will be true euphoria again, mark my words. And there is this post from a very popular chart analyst, Bob Lucas. He shared this with his 294,000 followers on X. It's a Bitcoin USD chart going back over a decade, showing the previous market cycles. It is like clockwork. And so he wrote here, Bitcoin doesn't care about all the narratives. It's now starting year 3 of the 4-year cycle, where almost all of the gains since inception have occurred. Ignore the noise. And so, my friends, this is true. And I remember running this channel literally 4 years ago. And this was the time roughly when even XRP started to move a bit. There was a lot of excitement, including around the election. And going into the end of 2020, things are obviously getting hot. And my God, 2021 for crypto is fantastic. I mean, that's when you're talking the peak of the bull market here. And so to think that this time is different, that does not compute to me. And so fine, again, like I was saying at the outset, we were hoping that we would have seen, just because you'd rather have it sooner than later, it would have been nice if we saw the euphoria, in the first half of this year, but that didn't happen. So maybe it really is more likely that we're just going to see some samey stuff going on here, which is perfectly plausible. Let's not overcomplicate this. Famous last words, this time is different. Okay. Well, maybe sometimes in some certain ways, but on the whole, I doubt it. I definitely doubt it. There's this post from chart analyst Dr. Magic. It says, let's talk November. As you can see, it's the best performing month for Bitcoin, even if you exclude 2013 and the sick 450%. Election years, chart doesn't include 2012, in which November returns was plus 12%. Average return is around 17%. Do you get the memo? Yeah, so if you are not driving or something, it might be worth taking a look at this. November, historically, great month. Great month, specifically for Bitcoin. And I doubt that this is going to be different. And Bitcoin leads the market, altcoins follow, so you love to see it. Even if you don't hold Bitcoin, you should be very happy for this, in my estimation here. And historically, when it comes to election years, the biggest fireworks do follow that, because markets don't like uncertainty. So we'll see how the market reacts initially, assuming we find out like who wins the the election here in the United States. It could be so close that we don't have a clear answer. Actually, who knows what the market will respond if that's the case here. If there's a very clear outcome in terms of the electoral college, okay. And then it just depends on who wins. I'm not going to bother predicting. That's not what this channel is for. But the market could respond a certain way, but even if the market views a particular outcome unfavorably, even if you do see a dip, I doubt that it's going to be sustained, because then at least there will be a bit more certainty in terms of the types of things that market participants can expect. And that historically is enough to get things to ramp back up to the upside, even if it takes weeks or a month or two or whatever it ends up being. There's this post from chart analyst Crypto Michael, Bitcoin USD chart, and he said, Bitcoin bullish retest. Now, this is almost exactly the same thing as a chart that I shared from chart analyst Tony Severino literally yesterday, and he was noting, okay, you got this trend line going back to the beginning part of this year for Bitcoin, after we had that top in March, just kind of been trending down, but he's noting here the same thing Tony Severino did literally yesterday. We broke out above that trend line, and then, as is frequently the case when it comes to human behavior speculating, you see a back test drop back down, and so he's saying that was just a retest, it's fine, that's it. And so we'll see, and I'm not making a prediction as to whether or not we do see a more substantial dip. I'm just highlighting what analysts are citing here. So that would be 2, and here's a third one, just to drive the point home a little bit further. Charting Guy seems to be thinking the same thing. Drew pretty much the same trend line going back to the beginning part of this year with Bitcoin's all-time high, and wrote Bitcoin backtesting go ? So he seems to think that that's at least, even if not certainty in his mind, something that's highly probable. Then there's also this from chart analyst Matthew Hyland, Bitcoin daily closes. Pretty much expecting chop to the election, then volatility. As long as price holds the prior low, $65,000, then an uptrend, which favors continuation up. Now, that was an interesting level to me, because chart analyst Credible Crypto the lower end of what he was citing here in the short term. I'm not going to read this whole post. It's on your screen if you want to pause here and read it. But he noted that the zone where we must bounce, his words, for Bitcoin to be $65,000 to $69,000. So you could see some relief there. That might happen. But he does still believe, and he's about the only person I follow that thinks that this is more likely than not, that you are still going to see a more notable drop to the downside. He's not guaranteeing it, but he does still think that's more probable. So he wrote the following. He says, taking the higher time frame context into mind, my belief that we may just be going for a sweep of the highs before a larger correction remains. So take it for what it's worth. I'm not going to bother predicting. That's not my jam anyway. I just like share with you what chart analysts are expecting to occur. And it's always most interesting to me when you see a ton of overlap in terms of perspectives that analysts independently come to. Because when that happens, whatever those analysts think are most probable, more often than not always, but more often than not, actually does occur. And that's why I find it so interesting, and I enjoy following so many reputable analysts on a regular basis. And it's fun when you got skin in the game, you know? I wouldn't give a damn about this if I had nothing invested in crypto, but when you do, and it could result in life-changing wealth, following it every day is a good time. Here's this post from Charting Guy. So as far as timeline for this, which I always find interesting, in particular, if you're talking about expectations, if history is to kind of rhyme with itself, I always find that stuff fascinating. So here's another post. This is from Charting Guy. He says, amazing find on ETH BTC. Here's the fractal overlaid. This aligns with my timing of how I think things will play out. Altcoins versus Bitcoin should get a huge breakout upon the new year. Then outperformance will chill out starting February as Bitcoin makes its cycle high late March. After that, we get the final meteoric rise in outperformance in altcoins versus Bitcoin for a month or so into late April/early May. This is what people call Altseason. Now, I will pause to note, and I was kind of getting at this earlier in the video, if this is indeed correct, that is going to be strikingly similar to what happened 4 years ago. For those of you that were here, you remember, I'm sure, April of 2021. If you were here, yeah. When XRP hit its cycle high of $2, which is still, sometimes it burns my biscuits a little bit thinking about how the SEC ruined our opportunity for that cycle. But it's still here, and it's been, that much more coiled up. There's going to be that much more money flowing in this. So it's not like the opportunity's ruined, but yes, they certainly delayed things for us. So, I don't let it burn my biscuits every single day, but sometimes I'm just like, God damn it, those asset pricks, but we're going to get ours. And so anyway, that's when all sorts of coins were popping off. So the fireworks really started actually in 2020, about this time 4 years ago, but it just got more and more fun, leading into especially the end of the first half of the following year, 2021. So 2025, again, 4 years after 2021, won't be surprised if indeed history just shows that, yeah, it's just rhyming with itself again. That historically has always been what happened. But anyway, he continues here. He says, for a month or so, Bitcoin does nothing while alts have their final leg up, having insane gains in a short amount of time. But altcoin outperformance overall should start sooner than later, with Bitcoin dominance finally hitting the 60% target and ETH BTC showing bottoming signals like this bullish divergence. Yeah, so eventually, that's true. So eventually Bitcoin dominance, it hits a top, and then even if it keeps going up against the United States dollar as you would expect it to trend, the dominance is going to decrease, and a lot of money flows into altcoins, and altcoin dominance it takes the reins. That is always what has happened, and that's where the real opportunity is. It's in altcoins, not Bitcoin. Even if Bitcoin gets a 2 or 3-fold increase, okay, whatever. I'll be selling, that's for damn sure. Here's a post from chart analyst eGreg Crypto, XRP USD chart on your screen here. And he has this chart that he has called the bent fork. And he wrote the following. So he shared, this is an updated version. He's been sharing this chart going back to, as he notes, June 2023. So he says, updated targets. As XRP's curvature increases, so does the target. The new top for the bent fork now sits around $17. But don't overlook the $1 mark. It's both a key structural resistance and a psychological barrier for the market. Macro perspective. Well, XRP has been in a long accumulation zone since April 2022, nearly 950 days, or about 2.6 years. This lengthy range could be laying the foundation for a substantial move. If XRP reaches $17, a typical bear market could bring it back to around $3.50, an 80% retracement. So folks, think about that. And it is, like, historically, that's pretty normal. See massive retracements like that because, if XRP goes where we want it to, just understand that is going to be a bubble. And that's fine. Like, I'm here for that. But that's not going to be some new sustained price, in the double digits guarantee. I'd be highly skeptical of that, frankly. And so to see it go back to what the previous all-time high would be around there, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. That's way higher than where we are now. And if that happens, that means like the prices that we're paying for XRP, if that ends up being the case, you'll never be able to get that again. This would be the very tail end for in the history of our species where you can never buy XRP this cheap, if indeed that comes to pass. And eventually, and I know people are always saying it's the last time. I've been hearing that consistently, bear market, bull market. I'm always hearing that, but we are in a bull market, which makes it more reasonable to state something like that, right? We're probably getting closer to that. So anyway, so then he says, in reference to the 80% retracement, he says, consistent with historical drawdowns. Closing above $3.50 isn't just a number; it's a critical level structurally. This could form XRP's next foundation zone where accumulation or ranging may resume. Yeah, so I'll tell you this. If that is indeed the case, and we have say the peak is $17, we crash down to $3.50. As soon as we are anywhere even close to that percentage down, by the way, I'll still be here. I'm going to keep running this channel. I'm just going to do it all over again. That means that I'll be buying XRP for $3.50 then. Do it all over again. Absolutely. So that means that wherever it peaks, it'll be a much higher dollar target, presumably anyway. Whenever it's years out and have another peak. Now, in terms of the multiplier effect, it will be much less impressive. My God, if you're talking about going from today about 50 cents to $17, gigantic. You're not going to get the same percentage gains the next market cycle. But I'm still going to be doing it. I'm just going to make sure I have broad exposure to the entire crypto asset class, and XRP absolutely would be a notable part of that because I'm most interested, even now, and I still will be next cycle too, in large caps, and certainly some mid caps, almost no small caps. It's just not as much my jam. But yeah, I'll be getting back into it. So even if I sell all of my XRP because it's, I'm sufficiently enticed price-wise, that doesn't mean I don't think it'll go higher. I'm just not worried about selling the top. And I will absolutely be happy to buy back in once the market starts cratering down. Absolutely. I mean, in 2017, when I first bought XRP, I was coming in at a crazy time when we were hitting that bubble. Just think weeks later, XRP hit its all-time high. It was pretty clear to me even then. It's like, okay, well, that's a bubble that just popped. So then once it got down from as close to $4, and once it got down to, I think, about 55 cents, I started dollar cost averaging in. And then I was basically, in the red in my investment in XRP or at about break even for a number of years. And that's fine. So I'm going to do that again. Happy to do so. It's just about having broad exposure to the entire crypto asset class. And the people that say you shouldn't have XRP in your portfolio, I just wonder what is functionally wrong with how their brain works. It doesn't make sense. One of the most adopted, successful, technologically impressive cryptocurrencies in history that's been tried and tested, and the SEC attacked it. It's been around for over a decade. And even the SEC couldn't take it down, and here we are, and you're going to say it doesn't deserve a spot in people's portfolios? That's ridiculous. And thankfully, even the institutional side disagrees with such a piss-poor opinion. There's also this post from chart analyst Steph Crypto, XRP USD, and he simply wrote, XRP is extremely close to a huge moonshot. And so, look, I would agree with that. That's most probable. And he's showing a symmetrical triangle. He drew the trend lines going back to the all-time high. And we really are getting closer and closer to that apex. It just can't stay here forever. And so we drew this line going up to $40. I don't know if that means necessarily that he thinks that's where you can expect the top. A lot of times analysts will just draw a line indicating directionally what they think is probable. But yeah, usually these things do break before hitting the apex. This is an exciting time to be an XRP. We do not have to wait much longer because XRP will just go when the rest of the market is going, even whether it's towards the beginning or the tail end or one burst and then another one later on the cycle. It'll go when the rest of the cycle goes. We don't have to worry about that. It's moving in tandem. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.